So hello everybody, welcome to Little Garden on the Prairie. So in today's video, we are going to talk about planning out your 2025 garden. One of the community members, Joanne, had asked a question inside our gardening community about how I plan out my seed starting and when do I do it and how do I keep organized. So I thought it'd be great just to do a little video here to show you how I do it. I basically just use a calendar, figure out my last frost date, and just kind of plan out what seeds I'm going to use and plan accordingly from there. So thank you for Joanne for that great question. And if you are not part of the Gardeners Growing Together community, I highly recommend that you join in where you can come in and share knowledge, ask questions, and give me ideas to make videos. So let's get started. So the first thing to do when you are starting to plan out your garden is figure out what your last frost date is and what growing zone that you live in, because that way, you can decide what time of, what month, what week you need to get starting seeds. So I always recommend just doing a quick Google by just typing in what is my last frost date. You usually get to a site like this that looks like, I think this is the Farmer's Almanac, where you can just simply type in your um, city location or your postal code or zip code. I'm going to type in Saskatoon here, do a quick search, and it will show you right here what your last frost date is. So for my area here in Zone 3, Saskatchewan, um, I am May 15th, it shows as my last frost date. I personally use May long weekend as my last frost date. It's a little bit later, 1 week later, but this gives you a good idea, a good starting point to start planning out your seed starting. So once you got that figured out, I just simply take a calendar like this, just a very basic calendar. If you got a favorite calendar or a pretty calendar that you want to use, then this is all you need to get going. And what I do once I have my last frost date all figured out, I just take that information and put it on my calendar. So my last frost date, like I said, I always use the May long weekend. So this is uh, where ours is. I think it's May 18th this year is the Sunday. This is when my grandmother always planted her garden, was on the May long weekend. So that's kind of always been my date that I've also used. And then from there, you can just start marking in the calendar, starting at 1. So this is 1 week, 2 weeks, go to the next month, back into April, then just, 3, 4, 5, 6. And I just keep doing that all the way into probably into February, what takes us about 12 to 14 weeks away from our last, whoops, sorry, from our last frost date. So that will then take us all the way to where we are right now. We are in this uh, middle of February right now. So this coming up weekend is 13 weeks away from my last frost date. So based on where you are, your last frost date might be a little bit sooner. And I'm kind of basing this just on cold climate gardening. So if you live in a warm growing zone, such as, I think zone 8, 9, where you don't have extended uh, periods of freezing during the winter season, your climate, your growing techniques are probably a lot different than ours, but I'm basing this on climates where we have freezing temperatures for long periods of time, throughout the winter. There's no growing going on. So all of your seed starting and your planting is all based around when your last frost date is, when the ground is warm enough, there's no freezing at night, and it's safe to put plants outside. So because we live in cold climates and we don't have a very long growing season, we need to start seeds indoors sooner so that they get a good start, so that they're strong seedlings that have, a good start before we put them out into our gardens. So basically, this is all I do. And then from there, I just start planning out what things and recording what things I've planted and looking at my seeds to see how far before your last frost date they are recommending that you start them. So right now I have written on here, I don't know if you can see this, that oh, where is it? Oh, up here, sorry. I already did a video on this where I started some onions, some celery, some petunias, pansies, those kinds of things. If you look at your seed packets, you can usually find out on the back of them, it'll say start indoors 10 to 12 weeks prior to your last frost date, or 6 to 8 weeks, 4 to 6 weeks. There's always kind of a broad, a few week time period that they recommend you start these seeds indoors. So that's basically all I do. And then I just, as you know, you're starting to look at seeds that you want to grow. Maybe you want to do tomatoes. I hope you want to do tomatoes because they're my favorite. And if you start looking at different varieties in the seed store, maybe you ordered some online. West Coast Seeds is one of my favorite seed companies that I do order from online. But you can also pick up seeds very easily, like at your hardware stores and your greenhouses. Seeds should be out on the racks now everywhere you go. Just take a look at the back and it'll tell you right there, sow indoors 5 to 6 weeks before transplanting outside. So that way you just go to your calendar, you have your last frost date written down on here. You count back 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 right here. So somewhere around that first week of April is when I'm going to start my indoor tomatoes from seed. So that's basically what I do. And I know that I'm going to start doing some flowers about 4 weeks before my last frost date. So things like zinnias and marigolds, cosmos, all my kind of pollinator type flowers that I want to start indoors. I will do that, about 4 to 6 weeks before last frost. Herbs is something that I plan to do this year. And hopefully I can do another video. So I have kind of a list of all the herbs that I want to plant. You can do a quick Google to see, how soon you can start them indoors. Some vary. I think I have a plan to do rosemary, thyme, and lavender because they have a longer uh, starting period. So they recommend 8 to 10 weeks. So I have them marked down in my calendar right here at that 10-week mark before my last frost. I am going to start some of those herbs. Some of the ones like basil, oregano, mint, they recommend somewhere in that 6 to 8 weeks. So I have them just marked in here to start them then. And I have, different things in here like peppers, 6 to 8 weeks, my tomatoes, of course. And then this year, something I'm going to try that I haven't done successfully for a few years is some brassicas, such as cauliflower, broccoli. And they recommend that you do those about, I think it said somewhere from 5 to 8 weeks. So very wide range. So, if your last frost date is sooner than mine, and some of these, you know, time periods already in February have passed that they recommend you start seeds, then you don't have to, worry about it. It's better to start them later than sooner. So if you're a few weeks behind on starting some things that, or it needs to go outdoors this spring, then just go ahead and do it. It's, I say later is better. Your plants will catch up. I find, in our cold growing zones that people sometimes try to rush things and get them outside sooner. And, we always have those cold nights and those late frosts that sometimes hit even after our, last frost date that sets things back. You're out covering things up. You're pulling your tomatoes back in and putting them back out. And so, don't rush your seed starting. Just, like I say, do it when it works for you. And if you haven't done it yet and it looks like that it's, that window of opportunity is past, then I would still say go ahead and start those seeds. So as far as direct sowing, there's a whole list of things that I also start to track on my calendar or plan out again around my last frost date. Things like potatoes, a lot of people plant them early. Again, if you do some Googling, they say wait till the ground is warm, but some people plant them early. Like I say, most of my in direct planting happens around this May long weekend. And another thing to do is to check your weather because every year is different. Sometimes we have cold, wet springs. Sometimes we get hot, dry springs, and you can start planting things a lot sooner. But, you can look on weather forecasts and get that 14-day forecast and really, look at those nighttime temperatures. Don't look at the daytime high, look at the night times. And if you see that it's, a lot of below freezing temperatures consistently happening at night, then it's still pretty cool. And don't rush putting out those things that do like cool soil temperatures that I might plant a couple weeks before last frost date would be lettuces, peas, like I said, potatoes, but things that like warm soil that you direct sow, such as beans, cucumbers, carrots kind of cool, but again, if you have a planting date, where you have 2 days where you're just gonna put it all in the garden, then those kind of things are best to put directly into the soil once the temperature is above that 10 to 15 degree Celsius. So that's kind of how I do it. And I just keep my calendar handy. And sometimes if I don't, plant it on the exact week that I had set out and I end up planting them sooner or later, then, just write down on your calendar the date that you planted them. If you're doing any winter sowing like I am in the milk jugs, I write those down on the calendar as well. And because I'm always making videos and trying to show you guys kind of ahead of time how to do some of these plantings, then sometimes I'm doing them a little earlier than normal. But again, I just want to stress that later is way better than sooner. You don't want to be dealing with big leggy tomato plants and pepper plants that are all root bound in their little containers, just anxious to get out into the soil so they can spread their roots. Keep them just keep it to only right around the range that they're recommending on the packets, and if it's later, then that's okay too. So, and, if you don't have the grow lights like I do, and we're getting into, longer, sunnier days, if you have some good south facing windows that get lots of, sunshine for 6 to 8 hours, you can, get away with some of these seed starts without grow lights. I do a lot of my flowers that, don't need to get started till 4 to 6 weeks before last frost because I have two big sunny windows in my garage. My garage is heated, and I can, plant those seedlings right on a tray, set them in the window, and don't worry about heat mats. Don't worry about grow lights, and they do great. I just turn them every couple days so that they don't start kind of bowing over and reaching for the light. And if you have that kind of conditions and you're lucky to have south facing windows, then you don't have to go into grow lights if you don't want to. But if you do, and there's a lot, I think I have some links down below where I will show you different grow lights that are very reasonable. I don't know if you can see them here. These lights right here. These are just LED lights from Lowe's or Rona. I guess Lowe's in the States, it's Rona in Canada. I bought these. These are just garage type shop lights, I guess you call them LED. They're not grow lights by any means. Very cheap. I got two of them hanging here underneath the shelf, and I start all my seedlings under there very easily. So something like that is very easy to purchase and get set up for your indoor seedlings. So again, I just want to thank Joanne for inspiring me to make a video about this. And again, get into the community, guys. I've got all sorts of ideas from the members in their videos they'd like to see and information they'd like me to find for them. But there are some people in that community that know a lot more than I do about a lot of things. So I'm really excited to chat in there and learn different things about gardening that I don't know because I don't know everything. So that's why a community is great because you can all come in and we can share ideas, and we all live in different parts of the world and have different growing conditions. So it's very cool to see. So that is basically everything I wanted to talk about as far as planning out my seeds. And if you have any questions, if I missed anything, just let me know in the comments below. Check out the link to the Gardeners Growing Together community and join up. It's on the school app. If you have never been there before, it's very easy to get set up with them, and you can download their app here on the phone. So you can see that little SK. Sorry, my light is bad. And it's just like, a Facebook icon or Instagram, and you can just tap into it, and you are immediately inside the school platform and in our community. You can read the chat, ask questions, find answers, and just do it all from your phone very quickly. So I hope you will join the community, and I will be doing more seed starting. I got all sorts of stuff to get going here over the next couple weeks, and I will try to do videos and share them with you as we grow along. So thanks again for joining, and we'll see you on the next video.